अच्छा लगेगा
जी। और अभी आप जैसे देख सकते हैं हमारे पास जो है सलमा जी, और आज की जो हमारी गेस्ट हैं वार्ड 3 की काउंसिलर मिस जैस्मिन मियान, सो शी इज हियर राइट नाउ। अगर आपने कोई भी सवाल पूछना हो तो यू कैन गो टू आवर फेसबुक पेज, जहाँ आप हमें लाइव देख सकते हैं, देन यू कैन राइट योर क्वेश्चन एंड वंस आई सी योर क्वेश्चन सो आई कैन आस्क हर। तो जो भी आपका सवाल हो अबाउट जैस्मिन मियां और अबाउट सिटी, लेकिन आज हम ऑफकोर्स जो है सिटी के बारे में बात करेंगे ऑफकोर्स बिकॉज शी जो है शी इज फ्रॉम सिटी, लेकिन वो हम थोड़ा जो है एट दी एंड रखेंगे, इसलिए कि हम जो है जानना चाहते हैं कि हु इज जैस्मिन मियां। शी इज बीन टू द ओलंपिक्स एज वेल, लाइक इन रेसलिंग स्पोर्ट। तो बाकी सब चीजें आज जो है बहुत सी चीजें इनके जो द वन वी डोंट नो येट, सो विल फाइंड अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स अबाउट हर। तो आप अगर आप देख रहे हैं तो प्लीज डू शेयर ऑन योर फेसबुक पेज इफ यू कैन, ताकि जो है ज्यादा लोग इसका जो है मजा ले सके आज के शो का। अगेन वी आर लाइव ऑन 94.7 FM एंड वी आर लाइव ऑन रेडियो सुरसंगम के फेसबुक पेज पर। First of all, Jasmine Mian, thank you so much for coming in and welcome to our studio.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Very happy to be here.
You have $1 million smile. Do you know that?
Thank you so much. You too.
Ranjit Baji, I got a bonus. Okay, here we go. Yeah, so I got it.
Yeah, if he gives us the bonus for doing such a remarkable show for their Radio Sursangam. Yeah. So yes, Jasmine. So it's nice to have you. First of all, welcome to our studio, and it's always nice to have guests like you. And I hope our listeners and viewers will also enjoy it today. So just tell us, who is Jasmine Mian?
Well, that's such a big question. How do you answer who you are in just a few sentences? But I'm a proud Calgarian. I've lived here for the last 10 years. I don't know, at which point can you say you're a Calgarian? How long do you have to live in the city? I don't know. I think as soon as you move here, you can say that. But I was actually born and raised in southern Ontario. And I was born in the small town, well, it's not really that small anymore, Guelph, Ontario. And spent a lot of time in Barrie, Ontario, as well as St. Catharines, and went to university there. And moved to Calgary about 10 years ago. My husband is a born and raised Calgarian, and he's been here.
So was he the reason of moving?
Oh, no. Well, you know what's funny is I lived in Ontario and he was in Ontario as well, because we were both competing with the national wrestling team. And so that's how we met.
So he's a wrestler too?
He's a wrestler too.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now I don't know our viewers and listeners are watching, but she's a little petite person, and to think about having that sport in her life, I have to know lots about that. So how did you do that, like the wrestling?
Yeah, wrestling is kind of a strange sport, because it's exactly what you're saying. When you think of a wrestler, you think of someone really tall and big and burly. But it's a weight class sport, and I competed in the smallest weight class, which was 48 kilograms or 105 pounds. I'm a little bit bigger than that these days, but when I was in fighting shape, that's what it was. And I honestly just found it because it had it in our school system. And so school sports are really important to introduce kids. And I started in school in the 9th grade, which is the first year of high school in Ontario. And by the end of high school, I was national champion, and then, kind of just kept going with the sport all the way to the top.
Okay. So, I was just going through your your Wikipedia, I found it. So you had your birthday December 31st.
That's right.
So happy belated birthday from us.
Happy
and so, when you were growing up, so did you have anything in mind? Like, you'll be going in sport? Like, I mean, wrestling is not like everyday sport.
When I was young, as a kid, I'm sure I was always frustrated that my birthday was over the holidays for school, so that I couldn't have a good party. So no, I didn't grow up always thinking that I was going to be an Olympian in sport. I loved sport. I loved competing. But I was playing every sport when I was a kid. Anything that you could get on the team for, I was trying to play it. And so it wasn't until many years into wrestling that I realized I had the capability of actually going to something like the Olympics.
So like everybody either gets inspired by someone or something, or something which really, they want to do that. There was anything in your life that inspired you to get into wrestling, or you really loved it by watching people and what was it that you, leaving all other things, like there's so many other things that you could get into, like you said you did all sports. So why wrestling?
Well, I think one of the amazing things about sport that drew me in, and if I had to pick a pinnacle moment, it would be when 𝗦𝗛𝗫𝗀𝗀 won the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, because it was such a moment. I remember being in my pajamas in the apartment of, like, the living room apartment that we had, and me and my brother just chasing and, you know, watching him race and jumping up and down and seeing that Canadian excellence. That certainly was a moment for me that made me really interested in sports.
Okay.
But I actually wasn't necessarily going into wrestling at that point, because wrestling is a sport, like, it's really big internationally. It's really big in Russia, in Iran, in India. It's so big. But in Canada, it's not really that big. You never grow up seeing that on TV. And so it really was just by trying it that I got into it. And then over time, I learned to have certain heroes in the sport that I knew of, but these are people that unfortunately everyday Canadians probably wouldn't know, you know, which is too bad. One of them is actually my best friend, 𝗃𝗏𝗡𝗏. She was Olympic champion in 2016.
Is that right?
Yeah, and so it was really cool for us to grow up in Southern Ontario and just be interested in every different sport. And she really played soccer for a long time, and then we started doing this weird sport, wrestling, and then now, you know, we were starting to be the best in the world at it and trying to be really great at it. And that experience of going from just being total amateur at something to really being one of the best in the world, and knowing that as an everyday average, you know, citizen of Canada, you can do that, has certainly inspired me to make sure that we continue to push kids into recreation and sport and excellence, but furthermore that we push them to try and do that in other fields, in medicine, in law, in entrepreneurship.
So, you know, when you got the phone call, or maybe you've heard, like, you know, okay, you are one of the, like, you know, one of the athletes will go there. What was the feeling that time? Because I think it's going to be good to hear that story. What happened?
Well, that's quite a long story in a way, because the Canadian wrestling at the time that I was trying to make the team for 2016 Olympics, it was so competitive. So I was competing against two former world champions or former, like, world medalists just to make the team, because we actually had very strong women's wrestling program at that time. So I was ranked third, and I had to make its Olympic trials is one big competition. And there was a pool of wrestlers. They all wrestled, and then one of them came up and challenged me, and so I beat her. I had to challenge second place, who was a former world medalist. I beat her, and then I had to wrestle my really good friend and teammate in a best 2-out-of-3 match. And so, you know, it was a long journey to make it. And then, you know, wrestling your really close friend to take that spot is so tough. Like, the process of actually making the team is so much agony. And then when you make it, it's almost a little bit of a relief, because knowing that you're on that Olympic team, now you can focus for the next 8 months just on that one performance. But it was a lot of stress just to that moment.
Especially when you knew they were your friends.
Oh, yeah.
That was...
And someone you watch work really hard, because this particular teammate, her and I trained every single day at WinSport and UFC together. You see all the time and effort that they put in. So it's bittersweet, because you want to win so bad, but you also know that that means that your friend is now losing. And so, you know,
it is a tough thing.
It was really tough, but we handled it really well. And it's. I have a photo of it somewhere after the match ended. You know, we just gave each other a big hug and walked off together, because that journey was, as much as only one person could go forward, it was, if we hadn't pushed each other the way we had, we wouldn't have been as good. So,
so were you ever afraid of getting hurt or scarred or anything like that? Were you ever thought of that? Did you ever think of it?
I was lucky to never have any catastrophic injuries, but certainly one thing that does happen in wrestling, and you've probably seen it before in rugby players and wrestling players, is they get it's called cauliflower ear, and it's basically just by you repeatedly hitting your ear on you know, people's knees and hips and stuff like that, you can actually get like an inflammation and bleeding that happens in your ear, and it can actually make your ears look not nice. So anyone who's seen it, like especially in Russia and Iran, like the men have like really not attractive ears. And ears are weird organs. Like they're a strange shape. They're not easy to reconstruct. And so certainly protecting my ears throughout that, so that they still look normal, is important to me.
But at least we have our hair to cover it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay, so you know, talk about like the wind sport. I think we are very fortunate to have wind sport in Calgary, of course, since the 18 Olympics. What do you want to say? I know they've been improving since then. They have so much of course the wind sport, and now they have a Hall of Fame as well, and plus now there were arenas as well. For in the last 4 to 6 years, they had the 4 arenas. So what do you mean, or how do you feel to have this kind of facility in Calgary?
that legacy infrastructure is so important. It's part of the reason why Calgary is such a hub for national sport. But it is a challenge because it's aging infrastructure a lot of times, right? You look at the ski jumps, you look at the bobsled track, a lot of these things being decommissioned over time. And I think it's something that needs further reinvestment if we want to remain this sort of sports city.
That's right.
But I think Calgary has a real opportunity to move from just being known as a winter sports city to being more summer focused as well. So the Foothills Athletic Park redevelopment will mean huge things for track and field. You know, thinking about when we're building out neighborhoods that, you know, we're not just putting in baseball diamonds, but we're putting in cricket pitches, and we're trying to modernize the types of sports that our citizens would also like to see and like to play and make it far more accessible, because winter sport is great and we have good climate for it. But a lot of people can't afford to do it because it's very expensive to purchase skis, and it's, you know, driving out there, the fuel and all of those types of things and the passes. So I think that Calgary has an opportunity to really revolutionize the sport infrastructure we have in the future.
You know cricket? Wow, I'm surprised.
Yeah, well, isn't it probably one of the biggest sports in the world? Right?
Yes,
it is.
And I think that's, we have to start thinking, even soccer, right? Soccer is or football, depending on how you call it, it's the fastest growing sport in Canada.
That's right.
You know, we see the men's and women's team doing so well in the international
right now.
And why are they doing well? Well, it's because we have all these grassroots sports, right? We need thousands of children to play sport if we want to have championship teams. And so building that culture, I'm really excited to see. I love hockey, don't get me wrong, but I think moving into other sports that all you need to play soccer is your body, and it's pretty accessible with the cleats and a ball, and can get expensive as you go.
It does.
But you know, it's a little bit more easier for entry.
So now wrestling on this side, now you have your new career. So do you think you'll continue in your wrestling sports, and you know, with so much busyness you're going to get into? So what are you thinking now? Will you continue with your wrestling?
So I've been retired from competitive wrestling for a few years now, even before I ran for elected office. And wrestling's not a sport that you do recreationally, right? So once you're sort of done with the competitive piece, you kind of hang that up. But I've been very involved with wrestling in terms of board and governance and administration, and trying to make the sport better and leave it better than I found it. And so I had to step away from a lot of that work once I was elected, because I just have so much more work to do in terms of advocating for constituents and working on some of the challenges we face as a city. So wrestling will always have my heart, and I will probably go back later in life to try and contribute, but not as an athlete, as something else, and probably not as a coach either, to be honest with you. But I would probably get involved in other ways.
In other ways. There are so many ways.
So guys, we have a Councillor like Jasmine Mian live in studio. अगर आपका कोई सवाल हो, of course you can send us a question on a Facebook. You have to go to Facebook and find the Radio Sursangam Facebook page, and you can send us a question. You can watch us live as well. तो ये अभी हमारे साथ बनी रहेंगी यहाँ तक इंशाल्लाह 7 बजे तक. So now it's time for our जो है commercial break. तो जाना कहीं नहीं है, आप सब सुन रहे हैं रेडियो सुरसंगम 94.7 FM, and we'll be right back.
कैलगरी शहर विच ग्रोसरी खरीदन लई जानिया पहचानिया ना है सांझा पंजाब ग्रोसरी स्टोर. सांझा पंजाब ग्रोसरी स्टोर कैलगरी विच 3 लोकेशनां तो ग्रोसरी दियां लोड़ां पूरीਆਂ कर रहा है. इन्हां कोल भारती दालां ते ताज़ा सब्जियां तो इलावा भांडियां ते घर दी वरतों दे सामान दा वड्डा भंडार है. अज ही नॉर्थ ईस्ट विच पैंदियां 3 लोकेशनां ते पुज्जो ते घर दियां सारियां लोड़ां पूरीਆਂ करो. पहली लोकेशन 3690 वेस्टविंड ड्राइव, दूजी लोकेशन 7171 80th एवेन्यू, तीजी लोकेशन 6520 फाल्कन रिज बुलेवार्ड. तिना लोकेशना बारे जानकारी ली आज ही फोन घुमाओ 403 835 2222. ओनर ऑपरेटर ट्रक ड्राइविंग ले खुशखबरी. लाइट स्पीड वाले ओनर ऑपरेटर हायर कर रहे ने. 20 साल तो ट्रकिंग इंडस्ट्री विच स्थापित ना लाइट स्पीड लॉजिस्टिक्स. इन्हां वल्लों एल्बर्टा BC ਲਈ $1.80 पर माइल दिते जा रहे ने. जे तुसी एल्बर्टा BC लाइन ते काम करके वधिया पैसा कमाना चाहते हो तां अज ही इन्हां दी हायरिंग टीम नाल संपर्क करो. इस बारे होर जानकारी ਲਈ डैरल लूजनी फोन नंबर 403 483 2802 ਜਾਂ जग्गी ढिल्लों फोन नंबर 403 442 42 58 नाल संपर्क करो.
ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦਿਆਂ ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ ਦੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਅਹਿਮੀਅਤ ਹੈ। ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ ਲਈ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ ਦੇ ਰੀਜਨਲ ਮੈਨੇਜਰ ਹਰਪਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਨਾਲ ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ। ਸੁਪਰ ਵੀਜ਼ਾ, ਲਾਈਫ ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ, ਮਾਰਗੇਜ ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ, RESP ਦੀਆਂ ਵਧੀਆ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਲਈ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਲੰਮੇ ਅਰਸੇ ਤੋਂ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਣਿਆ ਪਹਿਚਾਣਿਆ ਨਾਮ ਹੈ ਹਰਪਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੱਧੂ। ਇਹ ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ ਲਈ ਨਾਮਵਰ ਕੰਪਨੀਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲਈ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ ਦੇ ਹਰਪਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੱਧੂ ਨਾਲ 403 404 3500 ਤੇ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਘਰ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਹੀ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ, ਫਿਰ ਸੈਲਫੀ ਤਾਂ ਬਣਦੀ ਹੈ।
ਆਜੋ ਬਈ ਸਾਰੇ ਸੈਲਫੀ ਲੈਣੇ ਆ। ਓ ਮਾਈ ਗॉड, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਿਚਨ ਕੈਬਿਨੇਟ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵਧੀਆ ਸੈਲਫੀ ਤਾਂ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਿਆਰੀ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਤੇ ਹੀ ਬਣਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਹੈ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਕਿਚਨ ਕੈਬਿਨੇਟ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ HMP ਕਸਟਮ ਕੈਬਿਨੇਟ ਦੀ ਪਾਲ ਸਿੱਖੋ ਤੋਂ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਾਉਂਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਮਹਿਮਾਨ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕਿਚਨ ਦੇ ਗੁਣ ਗਾਉਣਗੇ। ਕਿਚਨ ਕੈਬਿਨੇਟ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਇੱਕ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਫੁੱਲ ਰੈਨੋਵੇਸ਼ਨ, ਕਮਰਸ਼ੀਅਲ ਇੰਟੀਰੀਅਰ ਬਿਲਡਿੰਗ ਕੰਸਟਰਕਸ਼ਨ, ਡੈਕ ਤੇ ਮਿਲ ਵਰਕ ਦਾ ਕੰਮ ਵੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਹੈ 2316 ਬੇ ਨੰਬਰ 11 ਸਟਾਈ ਐਵੇਨਿਊ नॉर्थ ईस्ट कैलगरी। पाल सिखों का फोन नंबर है 403 701 4947 403 701 4947 या 403 829 5000 403 829 5000।
Welcome back to Salaam Namaste Calgary on Radio Sursangam 94.7 FM. Yes, we are live right now, and our guest is Ward 3 Councillor JASMINE MIAN live in studio. Jasmine, how do you feel so far? Are we okay? Are we asking you same question or nice question? You're okay? You're under pressure or anything?
No, you're just asking questions about wrestling. So that
so
that
you are okay so far?
So far.
Yeah, all is well.
So you, like, do you have any interest in movies? Like, I know you're a sports player, but what about any movies, video games, anything like, world tour, anything?
You know what? I don't watch a ton of TV and movies, and my husband always jokes with me that I have a sort of saturation point. I can only watch like 1-2 hours, and then I'm done. I can't watch too much more. So I do have moments like everyone else where I'll binge a show and do that quite a bit for a weekend or something like that here and there. But I'm not regularly into certain films or that kind of thing.
Right. Because if they notice you, they might offer you a movie or something.
That would be a real turn of events to go from sport to politics to.
So when did you said you have been volunteering for last 10 years. So when do you remember the day or anything which you thought, okay, now I want to get into the system of so what got you inspired or what got you into this? Because being a wrestler and then getting into this, so what was it?
Yeah, I mean, I did work in university administration and consulting before as well. But I think when I reflect on my journey, I came from Ontario to Calgary around the time that Calgary was really blooming. And I came here because it was the best place to be the best at anything you wanted to be, right? So whether that was sport, that was my thing, or entrepreneurship, or if you're working in oil and gas, there was so much opportunity and such a culture of excellence that drew me right in. And it was a big city with a small town feel, but it has, this entrepreneurial spirit, but also a very charitable spirit as well. And so I fell in love with the city, and it was in the city that my husband and I got married. Like we became married. We started putting down roots. I was able to make an Olympic team. I got a great education, and so much of my life I owe to this city and the sort of journey that I made here to the city. But then over the last 5 years, Calgary's got this 1-2 punch where we've had the downturn in oil and gas, especially, that has really affected our city, especially our downtown. And then we've had the pandemic, right? This crazy pandemic
this is new,
that nobody expected. And so I think Calgary is very much up against the ropes right now. But I think it's a real opportunity. I felt this election was a really critical crossroads for Calgary in terms of what are we going to do to sell that comeback story of Calgary.
That's
and
right,
not just going back to what we've always been, because, in any business, if you try and stay the same, you have to innovate, right? And that's true in the public service as well. That's true in building a city. And so reimagining what Calgary is going to look like. And I thought that it's important that we have also a good balance on council of people who have experience, but also new people who have a large stake in our city's future, who are thinking about, how are we planning this city for the long term, and having that stake in it so that we make those better long-term decisions as well.
Yeah, because I think it was in the news yesterday, about the occupancy rate. So it went down to 0.02%, which is still a big thing. So of course, we have to attract people to downtown, for any other businesses or any high-tech company or oil and gas. So what you guys are doing as a council, as a team, to attract investment, attract people?
Yeah.
Because right now, if you go downtown on the weekends, roads are blocked. No one wants to go downtown. They don't want to get stuck on the street. Streets are closed. First Street, Southwest, has been closed for a month now. It's not your fault, but I'm just saying. But there are so many construction goes, which is necessary.
Yeah.
So how do you guys trying to attract people? Come to downtown. We have so much to offer.
Oh, this is such a good question. And I want to start with the scale of the problem in Calgary, because it's not like a challenge that other downtowns might have in any other city, because I heard the statistic and it blew my mind, which is the amount of vacant space that is in Calgary is, you could fit all of Winnipeg's downtown just in our vacant space.
Yes.
Right? And so it's a huge problem, because we built a downtown for an industry that was booming at a time where a period of time where we needed a whole lot of office space, and we've just evolved past that now, right? And you even think about work from home, you think about the way that people are utilizing cities is just evolving, and so we have to transform our downtown. There's no option. It's going to be so important for our financial health of the city going forward, and so there is the downtown plan, downtown strategy. We have an entire team at the City of Calgary who's looking at this, and their plan is there's so many different aspects of it. Some of it is that we need to convert some of the space from office to residential. That's not actually easy to do, because the buildings are not made to do that. So some of that will also have to be demolished. Then there's incentive programs that you're talking about. So how do we incentivize companies to stay in Calgary, also companies to come to Calgary and to populate that downtown? And I think Calgary Economic Development, their main job is to go out and sell Calgary to the rest of the world and attract that business. And then I think the other piece, and I'm always bringing this up, is I really think that we have to have a greater reflection of our diverse cultures in our downtown, right? Because if you look at where people want to go, they want to go where there's, restaurants and retail and cultural experiences that they want to engage with. And so I think really pushing that. And we have such rich culture in our city. You name it. It's the third most diverse city in all of Canada. It's Chinese New Year right now. And so there's just such opportunity, I think, in terms of that. And you look at other major cities where they have really big festivals around culture. I think Calgary has a few right now, but we certainly have far more opportunity.
Yeah, and also, this COVID has not helped at all. And I think down the road, when things get better, I think slowly it's going to get back, but not as fast as we think. And that's the time that we have to make sure that we, in an innovative way, we attract people and companies and businesses and things like that, so that people, that downtown especially, which is suffering the most, it gets back to its shape.
Definitely, and I think it's everybody's downtown, and I think that that's what we really have to focus on is how do we make sure every person in the city feels reflected in downtown, right? And so that's also about ensuring that we have a great transit system so that downtown is accessible, because when I talk to residents in my ward, they say, getting downtown is not the easiest, and it's kind of expensive for me to park with my family and those types of things, and Calgary is actually such a different city, I think, than a lot of people think about. And someone in my office came up with this great tagline that ended up winning a contest with that Calgary is a city where you can skateboard, surf, and ski all in one day. you can do
that's right.
And I think that's so cool. Like, what other city can you think of that you can do that? There's not that many out there. And so I think really thinking about how we're going to market our downtown and tell the story and help everybody be a part of that and make that more accessible is important.
Yeah. No, very true. So, like I said, we are live on Facebook as well. So there are so many people are watching including, I'm going to say a few names here, including Natasha from New York. Thank you, Natasha. Tapas Das from India. Buran Khan, you know him, Buran Bhai. Azmina Gilani as well. Thank you, Azmina. And then we have Shemikara. And Shemikara, thank you so much for attacking so many people. Thank you again. Then we have Rahim Wisam as well, Gushan Wisam as well. There are so many people are watching. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Hamida Damani as well. And a bunch of other people as well.
Thank you.
You just talk about like our weather here, and I think we are so lucky to have mountains next door. And I think when you talk to anyone from Ontario or from BC or other parts of the world, like our Canada world, they say, oh, we are here just because of the mountains. So is there any plan in the future take our train from Calgary to Banff or something? I don't know.
Those projects are certainly being discussed right now. Calgary to Banff Rail. I think that is a fascinating topic.
It is.
And I think would be just such a game changer in terms of tourism. And I think that's something that Calgary has struggled with a bit. And I know that the province who oversees tourism is working on this, right? We don't want to be a flyover location. We want to be a marquee location in terms of tourism. And we have all of the right pieces to be that, And further to that, we're also one of the more affordable places to go because as attractive as Vancouver is, and it has some of the same elements, Calgary is still very affordable comparatively in terms of taking that vacation, and you have so many different things to explore. And I think one of the silver linings of the pandemic was it really forced people to travel within their own country, within their own community, and just see the amazing beauty that we have. Like when I don't go out to the mountains enough. I don't know about you.
We do.
I always say I need to go out every weekend because it's so majestic and so beautiful. But there's also so much even within our own city to explore too.
Is. Of course. Definitely. And also, Stampede, like we had it last year, but with limited numbers. And hopefully this year we will open it fully. And then that has also taken a toll, not having Stampede in our city. And that has made a difference too, because the bulk of the earnings used to happen in the summer because there was Stampede and there was mountains and there's everything. So I think if as soon as the full-fledged Stampede will happen, things will start changing.
Yeah, it'll be nice to have Stampede back for sure.
Yeah, it is definitely. This is like it's like a landmark for our city. Like Stampede, it has never happened that Stampede, we shouldn't have Stampede in our city. Calgary is known for that. So I think there are few things which we all have to work together to make it more attractive and more innovative, to have things going in downtown. As you said, it's such a diverse city. And if we get things going, and now look at the Chinese thing, they are attracting people to do the murals and all that. So they are trying. Every diverse ethnicity is trying to do something to,
and I think it's really incumbent on the city to think about the programming and the accessibility element of what we are building downtown. Because, thriving downtown, we have a Chinatown, but how do you preserve Chinatown? That's a really important thing. How do you ensure that other cultural groups feel reflected and have space too? I think that's so important.
Yeah, it is.
I just want to kind of check your if I take you back, when we had a Winter Olympics in BC. So in BC that time, so the average price of the house was about 640,000 about 10 years back. Right now we are talking 1.2 million. In BC only, and after then, if you go to Ontario, Toronto especially, it's like a 1-point-something million, and then Calgary comes, which we are still about 700,000. And of course, I think the way the things are going for the last 2 years, price is going to go up and up. So as a city council, as your team, as a council team, how can we, can you guys do something, or price doesn't go up, or it's not in your hand, or about property tax and everything?
Well, I think, in terms of housing prices, there's so many factors that go into that. But certainly how a city, you look at a city like Vancouver or Toronto where they have space constraints, right? So Calgary, I was just remarking on this as I came down here, how big our city is, right? We've been able to grow outward. And that has helped housing prices stay affordable in some sense because you can continue to move more and more. Whereas in Vancouver and Toronto, eventually people want to live there and they grow upward, but it puts a lot of pressure on the housing market in terms of prices. And there's other factors that go into that too. So it's about sort of striking this balance between how do we build a city that we can afford to finance, right? Because for every new community you build, you've got to send buses out there, you've got to do garbage pickup, and that actually puts upward pressure on property taxes. So it's this trade-off where, you have to strike this right balance between making sure you're having enough new growth to if people want single-family homes that they can afford them, but also not making sure that you don't set yourself up so that you can't service those areas appropriately, right? So the top part of my ward in Livingston right now only has on-demand bus transit. Doesn't have really functioning transit like we see in other parts of the city because it's new, right? And so there's always trade-offs in terms of that. In terms of the Olympics, sort of what you're alluding to that happened in Vancouver, today I saw that they're getting together another bid package to bid again.
Again? What about us?
I know, and that is one of the things that I think, thinking about how is Calgary going to punch back or turn that corner. And I'm an Olympian, and I don't think that it needs to be around the Olympics. I don't think I think that the Olympics can be an event that you make something that you try and do regularly, and I know that's been a big part of Calgary's history. But I also think there's opportunities for other types of major events, right? We're going to have the World Petroleum Congress here. We're going to have there's other lower level of games that you see, world games, these types of things that are not necessarily Olympics, Formula E, these really cool events. I think that there's huge opportunity there. But they are bidding again.
They're bidding again. Damn DC.
Oh no. This would have made such a big difference if we got something big.
I think it's interesting to hear. I wonder what you guys think. Do you think that what kind of major event would you like to see? Because I know we always think Olympics, but what else would you want to see?
Because if you talk to anyone, like in like restaurant industry or hotel industry, of course they want big event. Olympic will be the biggest one, but of course like in petroleum kind of the conferences, I think that helps everyone, taxi or restaurant, everyone. And I think of course we need an event center, and so that my next question will be about event center, but that will be after the break. So we have to take one more last break. Of course, we'll be talking about our Flames Arena, and of course she might give us some updates on it. Well, I'm sure they are talking, behind the scene. We don't know yet, but we'll find out after the break. So मिलते हैं break के बाद. जाना कहीं नहीं, आप सब सुन रहे हैं सलाम नमस्ते कैलगरी on Radio Sursangam 94.7 FM.
कि तुसी अपने सुपनियां दी कार मर्सिडीज खरीद के कनेडा विच अपने सुपने सच करना चाहते हो तां कनेडा विच मर्सिडीज दी सब तो वड्डी डीलरशिप कैलगरी एयरपोर्ट दे नेड़े मर्सिडीज कंट्री हिल्स पहुंचो। प्रोफेशनल सेवावां लई जाने जांदे गौरव शर्मा दे नाल जिहड़े पंजाबी, हिंदी, अंग्रेजी जां उर्दू विच किसी भी भाषा विच तुहानू सेवावां दे सकदे ने। 70 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਡਿਸਪਲੇ ਲਈ ਵੱਡਾ ਸ਼ੋਰੂਮ, ਪੂਰੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਪਸੰਦ ਕਾਰ ਮਰਸੀਡੀਜ਼ ਬੈਂਜ਼ ਖਰੀਦਣ ਲਈ ਮਰਸੀਡੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਹਿਲਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੌਰਵ ਸ਼ਰਮਾ ਨਾਲ ਸੰਪਰਕ ਕਰੋ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ ਹੈ 403903 6757 4039036757।
ਸਾਡਾ ਪਟੋਲਾ ਤੇ ਸਾਥੋਂ ਹੀ ਓਲਾ।
ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਬਾਈ ਜੀ ਜਤਿੰਦਰ ਚੀਮਾ ਜੀ ਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਵਿਚੋਲਾ ਤੇ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਓਲਾ।
ਜੀ ਹਾਂ, ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਪਾਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਕਸਵੈਲ ਸੈਂਟਰਲ ਰਿਐਲਿਟੀ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੇ ਜਤਿੰਦਰ ਚੀਮਾ ਜੀ ਦਿਵਾਣਗੇ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸੁਪਨਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਘਰ। Unit 4 2235 30 Avenue North East Calgary. Call 403-629-3577 403 629 3577।
ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਫਰਨੀਚਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ ਲੋੜਾਂ ਪੂਰੀਆਂ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਸਮਰੱਥ ਬ੍ਰਿਕ ਕਲੀਅਰੈਂਸ ਸੈਂਟਰ, ਮੈਟਰੈਸ, ਸੋਫਾ ਸੈੱਟ, ਅਪਲਾਇੰਸਸ, ਇਲੈਕਟ੍ਰੋਨਿਕਸ, ਹੋਮ ਡੈਕੋਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਜਾਨਦਾਰ ਵੈਰਾਈਟੀਆਂ ਤੇ ਸ਼ਾਨਦਾਰ ਡੀਲਾਂ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸੋਹਣੇ ਘਰ ਨੂੰ ਚਾਰ ਚੰਦ ਲਗਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਅੱਜ ਹੀ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਸਨਰਿਜ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੈਂਦੇ ਬ੍ਰਿਕ ਕਲੀਅਰੈਂਸ ਸੈਂਟਰ ਤੇ ਪੁੱਜੋ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਡਿਟੇਲਸ ਹਰ ਹਫਤੇ ਵੀਕਲੀ ਨਿਊਜ਼ਪੇਪਰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਛਪਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ। ਪਤਾ ਹੈ 3451 ਸਨਰਿਜ ਵੇ, ਨਾਰਥ ਈਸਟ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ। ਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ 403726 6200 4037266200।
मैं क्या आज डिनर च की बनाया
ਉਹ ਬਣਾਣਾ ਕੀ ਏ ਘਰ ਦਾਲਾਂ ਸਬਜ਼ੀਆਂ ਸਭ ਖਤਮ ਏ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਾਰਥ ਈਸਟ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਤਾਂ ਘਰ ਦੀ ਗਰੋਸਰੀ ਵੀ ਲੈ ਆਓ ਤੇ ਨਾਲੇ ਪਿੰਡੋਂ ਫੋਨ ਆਇਆ ਸੀ ਬਾਪੂ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੈਸੇ ਵੀ ਭਿਜਵਾਇਆ ਓ
ਭਗਵਾਨੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਕੰਮ ਇੱਕੋ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਤੋਂ ਹੋ ਜਾਣੇ ਆ ਓਕੇ ਫੂਡ ਐਂਡ ਪ੍ਰੋਡਿਊਸ ਜਿੱਥੋਂ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਘਰ ਦਾ ਹਰ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਮਾਨ
ਪਿਛਲੇ 35 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ
ਇਹ ਦੋ ਲੋਕੇਸ਼ਨਸ ਤੋਂ ਸਰਵ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ 3250 60th Street North East Calgary 4032931168
403-293 1168
5075 Falcon Ridge Boulevard North East Calgary 4032931186
403-293 1186
ਕੀ ਗੱਲ ਬੜੇ ਗਾਣੇ ਸੁਣਦਾ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ ਟਰੱਕਾਂ ਤੇ
ਪੁੱਛ ਨਾ ਵੀਰੇ ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਨੋਟ ਛਾਪਣ ਦਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਆ ਗਿਆ
ਅਜਿਹੀ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਗਈ
ਆਪਣੀ ਤਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਲਾਈਟ ਸਪੀਡ ਲੌਜਿਸਟਿਕਸ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਵਾਲਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ ਯਾਰ 3 ਮਹੀਨੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਸੀ ਟਰੱਕ ਦਾ ਲਾਇਸੈਂਸ ਲਏ ਨੂੰ ਬੜੀਆਂ ਟੱਕਰਾਂ ਮਾਰੀਆਂ ਹਾਇਰ ਹੋਣ ਲਈ ਸ਼ੁਕਰ ਹੈ ਲਾਈਟ ਸਪੀਡ ਲੌਜਿਸਟਿਕਸ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਦੇ ਪੇਡ ਮੈਂਟਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦਾ ਜਿਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹਾਇਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਜੀ ਹਾਂ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਟਰੱਕ ਦਾ ਲਾਇਸੈਂਸ ਤਾਜ਼ਾ ਤਾਂ ਲਾਈਟ ਸਪੀਡ ਲੌਜਿਸਟਿਕਸ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਵਾਲੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆਜਾ ਟਰੱਕ ਦਾ ਨਵਾਂ ਲਾਇਸੈਂਸ ਲੈਣ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਨੌਕਰੀ ਲੱਭਣ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਲ ਆ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਲਾਈਟ ਸਪੀਡ ਲੌਜਿਸਟਿਕਸ ਕੈਲਗਰੀ ਦੇ ਪੇਡ ਮੈਂਟਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਜ਼ਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਓ ਤੇ ਵਧੀਆ ਡਾਲਰ ਕਮਾਓ ਹੋਰ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਲਈ ਕਾਲ ਕਰੋ ਜੱਗੀ ਢਿੱਲੋਂ
4035424258
4035424258 ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸੁਪਨਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਦਸਤਕ ਲਾਈਟ ਸਪੀਡ ਲੌਜਿਸਟਿਕਸ
जी हाँ, वेलकम बैक टू सलाम नमस्ते Calgary or on Radio Sursangam 94.7 FM. We are back, and our guest is JASMINE MIAN. She is a councillor for Ward 3. Jasmine, I have to take my breath. Oh, geez. So Calgary, what like it's about 140? Like no, how old is the Calgary now?
Well, that's a good trivia question.
Oh.
You may be right.
No, that's...
No,
I think 150 was the Canada.
Yeah, Canada was just recently 150.
Yeah. So I think, like the reason I said, because our population, I think it's very young. Or our Calgary city is very still new compared to Vancouver or like Ontario. So what do you see our future now? Like, what are you guys doing as a team?
Well, I think Calgary's future is really bright in terms of, when you look at the plan for, things like, and we'll talk about the event center, 𝗃𝗶𝘀𝗀 Center, the Arts Commons redevelopment, Foothills Athletic Park. Like we're really building some of these marquee locations that I think we need in Calgary. But I also am really excited to see what's happening in terms of business and innovation that's coming to this province. And I think that there's a lot that's on that horizon. And one of the things I can tell you from the story or from the city that I don't think we tell these sort of success stories enough, which is that about 10 years ago, when we didn't have the green bin program, you would take a banana peel and you'd throw it in the garbage, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of us thought, if it goes in the garbage, it's still decomposing in the landfill. It's probably not a bad thing. But what we know is that it actually doesn't decompose over time. Yeah. And what we find is that it takes up space in the landfill, and it hurts the decomposition process when we have the garbage and the green bin all together. And so we started that green bin program. I'm sure you have it at your house. And over time, Calgarians really picked up the program. That was something I didn't realize. 80% of Calgarians uptook that program, and now we're expanding that composting facility. And we don't just make compost with it. We're now using it to make renewable natural gas, which is a revenue source for the city. So we've actually taken garbage and turned it into money. Which is a really fantastic success story. And I think that innovation that you see in oil and gas, that innovation that you see in many sectors, that you see that excellence value in sports and many of the other industries in the city, you also see that within the city of Calgary. And I know that there's always a frustration sometimes with government, but I think one of the coolest things I've noticed in being behind the scenes now and asking all these questions at the city is there is actually quite a lot of innovation. Even 311, which for those who are not aware, 311 is the number that you can call for. It's a non-emergency line if you need some kind of city service or if you have a question about the city. And we get a lot of 311 calls at the city related to snow. And so they've actually used, historical data to figure out what's our extra call volume on the basis of weather so that they can staff up so that there's someone there to take your call. And so I think there's lots of stories like that at the city of innovation. And I really think that word is going to be, innovation and excellence should really be two words that we're looking at for Calgary's future.
Oh, I agree with you, definitely, yeah. And you are right. They are not told like they should be told out there, like it should be open, like you talking about the garbage and the compost and all that. So they don't come out as they should be coming out so that people feel, there's something happening, something innovative is happening. So it's not being told very...
I agree with you. Communication and selling the Calgary success story, it's the number one thing I'm saying. And, we have Calgary Economic Development that sells Calgary outside of Calgary, but we have 1 million influencers within our own city. And you look at the way, there's a reason why a 16-year-old kid on Instagram can sell Nike shoes better than Nike can. It's because he has a disproportional influence over his own network. So if we sell the Calgary success story, and there's so many good pieces to you, and then you go and you say to your friends and family, hey, come to Calgary. Do you know Calgary's a place where you can surf and you can snowboard and you can skateboard all in one day? I want to show you my city. That, I think, is going to be a turning point for Calgary.
This is awesome. This is awesome. And, of course, whenever we see, one of our... So who's going to be councillor, which you are, and then, of course, an MLA or MP. So, it's a very proud moment for us, as a media or as our community member. So, when you are in, or you're when all you are, all of, you can say councillor when you're talking. Now we have two main kind of main you can say South Asian medium channels now. One is our 94.7 FM. So how do you guys count us in, to do anything about the South Asian community? Are we in a talk at all, when you guys talking?
I think it's all of our different communities, right? And I think that this is why I come on shows like this to talk and to hear from you and to and anyone listening. Please do reach out to my office, because I think if there are sort of specific things that would make you feel more reflected in our city, I want to know what those things are. I mean, the highest population of South Asian community is in Ward 5. It's an economic engine of Calgary.
No doubt.
Economic engine. There's so much going on there, which normally would be in your downtown. It's you look at Ward 5, and Councillor 𝗟𝗏𝗀 is a great representative for that ward. So I think that there's so much there to better leverage, and I'm always open to those conversations.
Great.
I think you're right, because we need that, the reflection, what we are and what we can do out there.
Absolutely we do.
Definitely.
Okay, so now after we have about 8 or 9 minutes. So I don't know, if you watch our show or you listen in the past, but we have a rapid fire round.
Oh, rapid fire round. Okay.
And I'm going to put you some questions, and you have to answer it right away.
Okay, I'll try.
And we are looking for some spicy answers.
Oh, okay. We'll see.
If you know what I mean. Do you like spicy food?
I like spicy food. Yeah.
You like spicy? So do you eat spicy food, or you eat kind of Asian food, or?
Yeah, I mean, my favorite Pakistani food would be aloo keema.
Aloo keema you like? Oh, nice.
Okay, so I don't want to ask any more before I ask this question. Otherwise, I'm losing my question here. Okay, so your favorite movie? We'll start with this.
Probably The Shawshank Redemption.
Okay. Do you watch Bollywood at all?
I don't watch a ton of Bollywood.
But do you understand though?
When there's subtitles.
Is that right? Yeah, of course. Netflix.
Netflix.
Okay, there we go. And your favorite food, or Like you just said, aloo keema.
Yeah, I do love aloo keema. So yeah, I do love South Asian food, and I would say if it's just a Friday night, I think pizza.
Pizza?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so the best dish your husband cook, if he does?
Barbecue, something on the barbecue.
Barbecue, of course. Yeah, me too. And your favorite restaurant?
In my word, honestly, I love Jerusalem shawarma.
I love that too, no doubt. Yeah, good pick. Yeah. Okay, if you get a chance to go for a dinner with any Bollywood celebrity or Hollywood celebrity, who would you go with?
Who would I go with? I think it would be really interesting to, not that I don't know if he's a celebrity, he's not an actor, but Elon Musk. I would like to go. You know, he's trying to get off this planet, you know?
Yeah, I know.
Understand why.
I want to go too, eh? Yeah, I want to Elon Musk, no doubt. Yeah. And your childhood crush?
Probably some kind of character from a boy band or something.
Boy band. Okay, you don't answer, I can say, I can say that. And your favorite book?
I loved the Harry Potter series.
Is that right?
I read all of them, and they were coming out sort of as I was growing up. So I remember really loving those books.
And what about the movies?
You know, the movies are also good, but not as good.
And not as good.
Book, right? Okay, so if you wake up as a 𝗦𝗛𝗃𝗦𝗕𝗏, what would you do?
Oh man, I would probably try to go back to sleep because I think her job is really tough to be mayor. You know, she has a very difficult job in terms of leading Calgary through, and so I think she's done a fantastic job. So you know, I don't know if I have any advice for her, but maybe ask me in a year or two. Maybe
yeah, that's right.
Okay, so if you woke up if you wake up as a Mr. Trudeau.
Wow, you know, I think the big thing right now is getting through the pandemic, and I think that has to be what we prioritize. So, and I think that's where we're headed, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. 3 things in your bucket list.
In my life,
in general,
so I really want to travel. I'd really like to go to Thailand. I'd also like to go back to Pakistan because I haven't been there since I was a small child. So that's on my bucket list. Also, I would like to see if I can run a marathon one day, not to enjoy it, just to see if I can do it because I know I would not enjoy it. And then I think the other bucket list, I really wanted to get my own dog, but I already did that. So.
Oh, you did that. Yeah.
Oh, nice. And my next question, I know the answer already. Question is like your favorite radio show. So of course, it's us. You don't have to answer. We know that.
Well, then I'll never be able to go back and Red FM.
Yeah, that's right.
Shh, no one heard that.
No, so your childhood was in Pakistan?
No, my childhood was in Canada, but as a small child I went, but I don't remember it. So I'd really like to go back. So
you went for holiday?
When I was young, I went. And so my father immigrated to Canada from Pakistan in 1985, and then I was born in 89, so.
Oh, okay.
So do you remember anything from...
No, I was so young.
Would you like to go back to see the roots of your
Yeah, of course.
Your
That's why it's on my bucket list, for sure. I think
Yeah.
it's so important to understand your heritage.
Yeah. So now come to the $1 million question about the arena.
Yeah.
What's the update right now?
Yeah. So that's not a rapid fire question. It's
no, it's done. We are done. We are done with it.
I don't think I could rapid fire that one. So we are essentially at this point with the arena right now, and sort of back up, right? The city had a certain amount of money that we can spend on an arena.
287,000.
Right, million, and so it's this challenge where how do we work with a partner who and that hopefully that CSAC, the Calgary Sport and Entertainment Corporation, which is the Flames and the Roughnecks, and so that deal just came to an end because recently, I'm sure many followed it in the news, that CSAC was walking away from that deal. And it was set in stage gates, sort of how far can we get, and there was always these built-in off-ramps as to when or not this deal would progress. And they decided to take that off-ramp in December 31st. And there was a lot of frustration from the community because they want, some people want to see that deal go forward. Other people don't want to see that deal go forward. I think having an event center is a really crucial part of our downtown revitalization. But it has to be the right deal for both sides, right? And so we only have so much taxpayer money to go towards an arena. And the city certainly worked and increased the amount of money that they could put in over time, and so did CSEC, putting in more money over time. time. But the project was always a much more expensive project than I think we realized.
Yes.
And certainly with rising cost pressures and those types of things. In the media, I think there was a lot of focus on sort of, was it the climate mitigation measures, was it the sidewalks? To be honest, I really think that it was so much bigger than that particular thing. And I know that there was a lot of people who were very upset that the city didn't do everything they could to try and keep the deal. And I really think that City Council should learn some things in terms of how we negotiated last deal. And going forward now, I'm going to be engaging a third party to work, either if CSEC re-engages or if any other group would like to come together to talk about an event center. I think that that's really important. And so that's what I kind of throw it back to constituents. What kind of event center would you like to see? Because I think concerts is a huge element of it. Having a great public realm for events like Stampede, right? Because right now that all happens around the Saddle Dome, but it's not well integrated to the Saddle Dome, right, in terms of public realm. And other types of sports, right? We're just talking about all these other types of sports we'd like to see. So I think there's huge opportunity, and I understand everybody would like to see that get done sooner rather than later, and me too. But we've got some great capital projects happening in the area: the BMO Convention Center, the Foothills Athletic Park redevelopment, the Arts Commons, and then of course the Green Line. So there's a lot of capital work going on in the city, and I think it's
and I'm
exciting.
sure my personal feeling is I think it's going to be done. It might, of course, we have to go through kind of the hard, kind of the process right now. But I think both. I think city needs flames, and then flames needs city as well. And people like us, we need flames here. We need of course we are living in Calgary as well. So we want, which is good for all of us. I think that will beneficial, or is going to benefit to all the restaurant and cab drivers and swoopers and everything around, and of course the transit as well. So hopefully sooner but later, I think it's going to be done, and I think we are feeling it will be done, but it just has to go through the process, and I think hopefully.
And these things take time, right? They're massive projects, and whether it's with CSEC or another partner, I'm certainly confident in the city's ability to deliver that project. And I understand people want it sooner rather than later. I get lots of emails that say, "Hey, I can't get my concert here. It goes to Edmonton."
That's right. And you know how much we love Edmonton.
I know.
Oh God! And I think we just have a couple of minutes left. So if you want to say any message to our viewers, listeners, what do you want to say?
Well, I just want to say, first of all, thanks for tuning in. And I think one of the coolest aspects of being a city councillor is that you really get to experience all of the beauty that our city has to offer. And I do want to share a couple things that if you haven't checked them out, I would love to hear that you do. Edmonton, they might have a nicer arena than us right now, but their library is not like
nice
our library. And truly, when you go into the Calgary Central Library, it's a magnificent building. It is. I was talking to the CEO the other day, and I said, "Which libraries are the best in North America?" And she said, "Well, New York's pretty good, but then it's us." Calgary has one of the best libraries in all of North America. The other thing is you might not know this, our zoo is the most attended zoo in all of Canada.
Is it right?
All of Canada. So these are the stories I'm telling you of pride that I have in our city, and that we are not just good at certain things, we are excellent at libraries, excellent at having a zoo that does significant conservation work as well. And so if you're hanging out with your children or your grandchildren or your family and you're looking things to do, it's absolutely free to walk into our public library and experience it. You can spend a whole day there. There's lots of programming, and if you are willing to spend a little bit of money, you can buy a zoo pass or just go for the day and experience. We're gonna get I think some new exhibits soon, upgraded exhibits. And so it's really some spectacular stuff happening in the city in terms of our civic partners. So check those out. If you have any questions about things that are happening at the city, especially if you're my constituent, I'd love to hear from you. You can always email me at word03@calgary.ca. I'm also hosting a Q&A session on February 17th. So one of the challenges with the pandemic right now is I want to interact with my constituents. I want them to be able to ask me questions about the arena and all of these things that you've just asked me. So on February 17th, you can sign up, send me your questions. I'm going to answer all the top ones we get asked.
Good one. Good.
Wow, good to hear that.
That's so nice. Yeah.
So So thank you so much again for your time, and
you.
so lucky to have you here.
Coming
And your
all
good
the
friend,
way,
and your good friend Fazal Khan is watching as well. Thank you, Fazal. Sunobi and Nafis as well, Ishar Damji as well, and so many others as well.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yeah.
Salma ji, kya kahengi aap?
Bas, I would say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It's been a great pleasure to have you and talk to you, and hopefully things will turn better and better for you and for your constituency, and that's what we want, and we are there for you. Our radio is there for you, and thank you once again, and that's all I would like to say to you and to my listeners and viewers. Thank you so much. आप लोगों ने आज भी हम लोगों को इतना सपोर्ट दिया, और उम्मीद है आप लोगों को हमारा ये सेगमेंट बहुत अच्छा लगा होगा. हम कोशिश करते हैं कि अच्छे लोगों को, ऐसे लोगों को लेकर आएं जिससे आपको बहुत ज्यादा नॉलेज मिले, और हमारा अगले हफ्ते जो प्रोग्राम होने वाला है वो भी बहुत ज्यादा अच्छा होने वाला है. तो इसी तरह आप हमको सपोर्ट करते रहिए, और हम इसी तरह आप लोगों के साथ प्यार बांटते रहेंगे, अच्छे प्रोग्राम देते रहेंगे. तो हमें इजाजत दीजिए, हमारा वक्त खत्म हुआ जा रहा है. अगले मंगलवार को आपसे फिर मुलाकात होगी. अल्लाह हाफिज, शब बखैर एंड टेक केयर.
तो गाइज इंशाल्लाह मिलेंगे अगले ट्यूसडे. जब तक अपना बहुत ज्यादा ख्याल रखिएगा. आई जस्ट वांट टू से वन थिंग बिफोर वी गो. जो हमारा जो कॉन्वॉय ये है ट्रक ड्राइवर्स का फॉर द प्रोटेस्ट. सो खाली मैं यही अपना बोलना चाहूंगा, ऑफ कोर्स यू हैव अ राइट टू जो है प्रोटेस्ट, जस्ट मेक श्योर कि यू नॉट हर्टिंग अदर्स. You know, I'm sure the way it looks, I think जो other truck drivers, they are hurting because they cannot go to the other side of the border कि जो भी है, और you are hurting the Ontario, जो हमारे Ottawa में हमारे भाई बहन रहते हैं उनको. I think it's been blocked off for last जो है 3-4 days. So do what what is right. Of course so you have a right to जो है protest, but do the right way, and as long as everyone is safe, that's all we ask. Until then, Khuda Hafiz, Assalamu Alaikum, and Khuda Hafiz.